Hello, friends. Now I am going to talk about sex education in school. Education provides knowledge on physical, social, moral, behavioral, and psychological changes and developments during puberty. It teaches the adolescents about the role of boys and girls in family and society, responsibility and attitude of boys and girls towards each other, etc., within social context. One of the most debated topics across the world is the importance of sex education in schools. Sex education refers to a broad program designed to impart knowledge or training regarding values, attitudes, and practices affecting family relationships. The real purpose behind sex education is the transfiguration of a male child into manhood and of a female child into womanhood. Sex education is never the most pleasant of the conversations for an adult and child to have. Yet, it is an essential one that many feel should happen in a responsible and safe environment due to increasing incidents of HIV/AIDS, RTIs, STIs, and teenage pregnancies. There is a rising need to impart sex education. Parents and counselors in Delhi, in India, argue that banning sex education is not a solution and will prove disadvantageous instead. Give the exposure kids have to the internet. The sole aim of such an education would be to teach children to establish and accept the role and responsibility of their own gender by acquiring the knowledges of sex, understanding the differences and similarities between two genders in terms of body and mind will set up a foundation for the future development in their acquaintance with friends and lovers and their interpersonal relationship. It will also help to develop emotionally stable children and adolescents who feel sufficiently secure and adequate to make decisions regarding their conduct without being carried away by their emotions. There is an ocean of distorted information available at the click of the button on the internet. It hardly throws light on issues like gender equality, marital sexual relationships, or even violence or abuse on sexual grounds. That is why schools should take up these classes starting from as early as class 7 or 8 so that the students are comfortable approaching their teachers before turning to unreliable sources of information online. A study on child abuse in India, conducted by the Ministry of Women and Child Development, reports that a good percentage of boys and girls surveyed have faced some of the other form of sexual abuse. Therefore, sex education might help the vulnerable young population to be aware about their sexual rights and empower them to protect themselves from any undesired act of violence, sexual abuse, and molestation, etc. India's national population policy also reiterates the need for educating adolescents about the risks of unprotected sex. It has been seen that various schools across different cities in India are organizing workshops to create awareness among students on issues like health and hygiene. Unfortunately, a complete sex education drive on a regular basis is still to be introduced in the Indian schools. If we are to go by the date published by WHO, sex education should be imparted to children who are 12 years and above. It has also been seen that it is the age group of 12 to 19 years that counts for some 34% of the HIV infected persons in the world. Experts claim that youth in India needs sex education more than the youth in any other country since child marriage ensures that one not only have sex at a young age but girls also have teenage pregnancy. Basically, It seems that the taboo is in the head of the leaders, not teachers. This negative approach towards the contempt of sex education starts from the authorities and through the trickle down effect reaches the students also, who then approach it in a similar way. In lieu of all the controversies, several states including Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Kerala, Rajasthan, Karnataka, Chhattisgarh, etc., declared that the course content as suggested by MHRD was unacceptable and thus banned the program. On the contrary, there is more to sex education than simply dumping facts on students, which is why many schools have hired counselors who deal with the topic more effectively than the teachers. And all this talk about vulgarity, it is because of how the system is approaching the topic. It is all in the head. If a regular teacher tries to talk about this topic with students, it can get awkward and uncomfortable, but it can never be vulgar. These sessions are always held by people who are trained to do it. Counselors who can talk about these subjects without blinking an eyelid are the ones who help in making the students confident too. Sex education is a part of the syllabus from class 12 onwards. When the students learn about the reproductive system in their biology classes, there are so many other issues that kids of this age group face and need to be sensitized about dealing with rejections, getting too serious in relationships, topics that parents want to school staff to guide their kids through. This kind of guidance is much needed in the present times of information overload. In fact, parents feel that it is the schools that have to proactive and arrange for classes and sessions like this so that the day the children is curious, he gets the answers from trained professionals and not from some anonymous website. If we go back to the history of sex education in India, we will find that spread of awareness was started as a result of the concern for population growth. Hence, family planning programs are launched during the 1950s, but it was in 1980s that the government launched the National Population Education Project. The project saw textbooks promoting the idea of a small family and highlighted the fact that increase in population leads to poverty. The biggest advantage of sex education in India is perhaps it will help the country fight against the tremendous spread of AIDS. Also, sexual exploitation is spreading at a high rate wherein the small kids are the highest prone to such incidents. Evidently, a comprehensive sex education can help the present generation live a secured, healthy life. Sex education cannot be a typical educational practice in school. It should cover all psychological, physiological, and social issues that can force a person to think about the urgency for this kind of awareness among school goers. Children reaching the teen phase starts showing peculiar behavior that can grow up into bigger problems in future. If not given the right knowledge at the right time, and effective sex education at school along with adequate communication between parents and children at home can bring about a lot of change. Better sex education is now a part of the school curriculum in most of the countries of the world. In India, after years of sex education being banned in many Indian states, Prime Minister Narendra Modi rolled out a sex education program in 2018. This training is vital since India is number 3 in the world's HIV pandemic. Sexuality education is defined as teaching about human sexuality, including intimate relationships, human sexual anatomy, sexual reproduction, sexually transmitted infections, sexual activity, sexual orientation, gender identity, abstinence, contraception, productive rights and responsibilities, gender, etc. Friends, Alfred Charles Kingsley was an American biologist, professor of etymology and zoology and sexologist who in 1947 founded the Institute of Sex Research at Indiana University, now known as the Kingsley Institute of Research in Sex, Gender and Reproduction. He is called the father of sex education. He is best known for writing Sexual Behavior in Human Male, and he also wrote Sexual Behavior in Human Female. Kingsley's research on human sexuality, foundational to the field of sexology, provoked controversy in the 1940s and 1950s. His work has influenced social and cultural value in the United States as well as internationally. Thank you for watching this video unto the last.